Hey Anna,
Hey, Mike.
so we've just finished Billy's first 60 days of Antinol, and wow, what a difference.
Really? Oh my gosh, what have you noticed?
Well, he's shiner, he's much more energetic. Not that he wasn't beforehand, but you can see the difference. But remember, I told you he used to have that little limp in his back left paw that he'd hurt himself when he was a pup. He
Yes,
doesn't seem
yes.
to do that much anymore.
What, the hop, skip, and the jump?
Yeah, yeah. So it's like his joints are a bit better. And we actually had friends around this weekend who'd noticed that there was something good about Billy. And I was telling them about Antinol, and they said, "Oh, what's in it?" I said, "Well, green lip mussel." And they said, "What's that?" And I go, "Oh, well, I don't know. I'll have to ask Anna," as I always do. So
Well,
for next
green,
time, what should I say? What's so great
well,
about green lip mussel?
green-lip mussel, it comes from New Zealand. It's the only place that green-lip mussels live. And what's great about the green-lip mussel is that it is what's known as a broad spectrum source of omega 3. And the reason dogs need to take omega 3 is that their bodies don't make it themselves. So, unless they're getting it through, their diet, which can be omega 6 heavy. And it's very important to have a balance between omega 6 and omega 3. So it's normally through supplements that omega 3 is given. And green lip mussel is unique in its having everything from EPA, DHA, and ETA. So all the main omega 3s.
And how about Binks and Prudence? They must be much better as well.
Yeah, well, they've been on it for over a year and they've been on green lip mussel forever since I've had them. So Prue's 10 now. So she's had green lip mussel since the first day I brought her home, to be honest, but not Antinol. And I only wish I'd discovered Antinol earlier. I really honestly mean that because it's an oil rather than a powder. So its bioavailability, that means, its effectivity to get absorbed quickly and efficiently by the body is greater.
So people listening now and they want to discover Antinol for themselves, where do they go?
Well, all you have to do is go to Antinol, ANTINOL.co.uk, and then type in Anna Webb and get your special discount. I'm Anna Webb, and welcome to A Dog's Life. This week, we're talking to Joe Bagley, the houseplant doctor, all about how bringing nature indoors can help your winter blues and your dogs. This episode, of course, is powered by Antinol. Joe Bagley, welcome to A Dog's Life.
Thank you for having me.
Joe, no, I'm really excited about this episode, actually, as we're talking about plants, house plants, aren't we?
Yes, and all things houseplant, the well-being, the pet-friendly side of things, everything.
Yes, which is absolutely excellent because it's topical because when this airs, we're going to be well into winter time, aren't we?
Yeah, it's going to be dark days, 4:30. Oh, can't wait.
I know, so exciting, isn't it? Gosh. But it's important, therefore, to really bring a bit of the outdoors indoors.
Absolutely, definitely. And there have been so many studies on the benefits of houseplants and the need for the innate need for greenery as well.
Yes, not just for humans, of course, and they're not just decorative. They really serve a functional purpose in the indoor environment. I mean, something you'll be aware of that I've mentioned on the podcast before is when I did my study, I just couldn't believe the figure that is that indoor environments tend to be 3.5 times more toxic than outdoors. Whoa.
It's incredible, even in cities, for example, with the pollution of the cars, the buildings, etc. To know that, and knowing that houseplants also do help quite significantly, with the air purifying, the stress relief for people as well, the work production. It is a really, really good thing to have the houseplants in, especially as you say with the air pollution outside.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for dogs, particularly, you know, as we have our shorter days coming up now, dogs do, and all animals like to be outside. Cats, you know, like to be outside. Dogs like to be outside. So to have that extra stress relief that plants bring. Now, how can you actually say, you know, that plants do reduce your stress? How do they do it?
Well, there's a few different ways. So the first way is obviously with houses. If you don't have any foliage in there, the the room's just basically full of right angles, straight lines. There's no natural curves to break that up, unless you live in a hexagon or a pentagon or anything like that. It's very unlikely. So with most rooms, they're just square, rectangular shaped. Bringing the houseplants in softens all of that. The colour green is known with the studies that it's the innate need for green. It's the most calmest colour for people. About 36% of people miss greenery, especially in winter when they don't really look outside or they work outside or they work in an office, for example. They get home and it's either getting dark or it is dark. They leave for work in the morning and it's potentially dark. So people miss that innate greenery that we need to see, the tactility that we need to touch, for example. So that kind of stuff's very important. But then also the other side is just having the houseplants and growing them for several years. So the oldest houseplant I've got now is 65 years old. Obviously, I haven't grown that the whole time. I'm 25, but I'm the third generation to have that cactus. It was my stepdad's uncle's mother's plant. Well, actually, I'm the fourth generation thinking about it now. But that plant is very, very old and it just passes down through the generations. So plants are there forever, and you have personal attachments to them. You know, they're almost like semi-pets or semi-children when you've had them for such a long time.
Gosh, yes, yes, I know, because a lot of people do believe, you know, that plants speak to you, don't they?
Mm. Yes, and the thing is, plants have known, especially if you've ever heard of the phrase World Wood Web. Basically, that's just in forests more than house plants. Fungi, mycorrhizal fungi, can connect two trees together. They can communicate. Two separate trees can communicate with essentially the fungus that joins the two root systems together way under the ground. And of course, we wouldn't have known all of this without the studies. So plants know so much more than we think they know. It's
Oh gosh, you
incredible.
know, I love all of that. I mean, funnily, on my walks at the moment in the morning, there is this lovely lady, and you know, in London, you don't sort of talk to people really unless they have a dog, and then there's a reason to engage in conversation. But she is. I think she's meditating. It's brilliant to watch with the tree, because where I am, there's this strange circle of trees. I'm not sure what type of tree they are, but it is an exact circle of really big old trees. And I enjoy just playing games with my dogs in the circle of trees. Do you think that's a natural phenomenon? We're digressing slightly, but it's relevant, I think. Or do you think
Yeah.
those trees were planted? I mean, they must have been hundreds of years ago. They're massive.
Well, the horticultural side of purposely planting things goes way back, even past the Egyptian period, 4,000 years ago. So it could be humans did it, but then over the years, it's become so much more of a symbolic place to be. There's all sorts of places like that in the UK. There's the Six Sisters Hill with all these different trees. Most of them obviously would be things like ashes, oaks, birches, beeches that have been in obviously the country for long enough. So it is very important to have these things nearby. The thing I love about where I'm living at the minute is we've got, I think the oak, so the building was built in 1753. This is grandma's investigative work on the history, but the oak tree next door is a little bit older than that. It predates this house, which is interesting to think that all these generations have lived in the house have seen the same tree we are seeing now, and it's gigantic. There's no stopping it. So yeah, it's just incredible that the staple of time that these plants can create, and the feeling and the symbolism.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, there was that terrible incident up in Cumbria, wasn't it? Where, you know, with
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, was it Hagen's tree was, you know,
Yeah,
chopped. Oh, you know,
the
I
birch.
mean, yeah, that was just dreadful, you know, because I agree on that. But going back to houseplants, you know, for me, I love my flat and I've got a huge garden, and I feel this makes up for the fact that being in the basement, which always sounds a bit draconian, but it means I don't get tons of light in. There's certain times of the day when, I do, and so on. So I'm relying on spider plants, and I'm terrible. I don't know the names of anything. It's so ignorant of me. But I've got one of those plants that will grow almost in the dark, and it's not an ivy, but it's a bit like an ivy. So it really, really grows, and you've got to wind it round things to make it decorative.
I know the plant.
You do? Oh, wonderful. What is it called?
Well, ironically, it's called the devil's ivy. It's not in the the common ivy family that we know. The ones that grow on the fences, on the trees outside, on the buildings. It's the devil's ivy. So they're from the Americas, and there's different areas that they grow. But their leaves, if you ever go to botanic gardens, the leaves eventually, if you let them grow up a tree and they've got overhead light, the trees will be the size of a car wheel, when at the minute they're quite small, probably in the house with you. So they are amazing plants, and they grow in any location, which is why they're called the devil's ivy, because they grow in such dark areas, like draconian, as you were saying. So yeah, it's a really good plant to have if you have very dark areas. Put it on furniture, shelving units, terry balls. You can even grow it up the wall with little self-adhesive hooks, the sticky pad hooks on the back. There's so many ways you can grow devil's ivy. It's amazing.
That's such a good tip, actually, those little hooks, because that's what I need to do, because it's got a bit out of control, and I'm kind of wrapping it round sort of ornaments and things, to stop it, because I don't want my cat to get it and pull it all down, because that would be a nightmare. But talking of pets now, bringing it back to, obviously dogs and everything, it's bearing in mind the, toxicity of an indoor environment, that you can do lots to keep it clean, I use probiotic household cleaners, for example, rather than your off-the-shelf chemical options, which I think is a good idea. But, what is it? Do the plants release oxygen to then balance any CO2 or pollutants? Because they breathe, don't they, plants? They are, they're living people.
Yeah, no, definitely. They can take up things like formaldehyde, so for nail varnish, vapor, paint vapors, things on that nature. They can take up. You need quite a few plants for it to do such a good job. But obviously, the main thing is the oxygen production. Most plants do produce oxygen pretty much only in the day, whereas they then produce carbon dioxide at night. Plants, technically, if you want to be technical, they do actually produce carbon dioxide 24/7. It just peaks at night and it goes much lower in the day whilst they're producing oxygen. So actually they're doing both in the day. Some house plants, you've got the snake plant, the aloe vera, for example, those do produce oxygen all day and all night as well, which is quite fascinating. But the thing is to remember, it's not nowhere near dangerous levels of carbon dioxide. With my place, I've got probably, we're looking at the room now, at least about 50, 60 houseplants just in the bedroom. I'm living proof there's no issues with having these many plants. And if you balance that with the aloe vera, with the snake plants, there's no reason to worry about the carbon dioxide at night, because that is an old wives' tale that I've heard a few times. I didn't realise until people said that. And I said, oh no, not at all. They're only beneficial for the air. And also, if you think about it, the plants are already outside anyway. So there's a natural balance of all the elements, the atmospheric elements on that side. So it's only beneficial to have the plants inside, in your bedrooms, in the bathrooms, lounges, etc. But yeah, that side of it is very, very good for you. And for the air purifying side, and 50% of people, according to the Plants and Flowers Foundation in Holland, they said that pretty much around about 50% of people actually felt the benefits in terms of air quality, in terms of the vibes of the room, when having the houseplants in there. So it is really important bringing the nature in.
Yes, yeah, no, totally. Well, it's something I definitely always like to do, but we have to be careful, don't we, with pets? I mean, we've got Christmas coming up. Oh, don't, I know I said it. Something a lot of dog owners don't know is that the winter rose, isn't it a poinsettia? Yes, the plant, that is stunning, very festive with the big red leaves and the little white flowers in the middle. But they're lethal, by the way, to dog owners. So we dog owners have to not have a poinsettia really in the home. But no. I don't know, are they toxic to cats as well, Joe?
Yes, so anything in the euphorbia family, like the poinsettia you've got, there are some houseplants that look like cacti with little leaves on. I'm looking at mine now. That's a euphorbia. They same as rubber trees. If anyone has those, when you cut into the stem or the leaves, not very rarely the root system though, they can produce a little white sap. Now that sap, all that is there. It's not meant to kill people. What it's meant to do is just to seal over the wound, because generally speaking, euphorbias are very easy to snap the stems by accident. So basically their evolution of behavior side of it is they can just seal over the wound, a bit like bleeding and scabbing with humans. But of course, the sap is actually very toxic, both to humans and pets. All cacti, cats. Don't you say cats on podcasts? Always cacti. Cats, dogs, even rabbits. If you have a house rabbit that's allowed to go around the rooms, and they are quite toxic. So the best thing to do, if the cats or any animals are known to go on shelving away from the floor, it's best not to have those. There are some other plants that are toxic, like the rubber tree, for example, and anything in the arrowroot family. So arrowroot families are like the monstera, the peace lilies. Those can be toxic as well. One of my dogs ate one of the leaves of those. They were fine. There was no adverse effects, luckily. But it's always good to pay caution to that. There's many pet-friendly houseplants if you want me to mention them. Orchids, anything in the orchid family, of course, they flower as well, so you get the added bonus of that. Palms, indoor palms, so the parlor palm, the butterfly, they are fine too. So little plants like that, there's no reason to worry about having those in there. And sometimes spider plants, cats do like to nibble the ends of spider plant
We've
leaves
got
as well.
loads, Joe. Spider plants. I've got one that I've had, talking about having a plant for a long time. I've had this spider plant, oh gosh, for about 30 years.
Wow.
And yeah. And over time, she or he, I'm not sure how it works with plants, has had babies, so we've got sort of, generations of the plant, which is lovely. So are they good spider plants then? Are they good ones?
Yeah, spider plants are really, really good. They're pet friendly. They're not poisonous in any sense, especially not compared to euphorbia. Of course, with any houseplant, if the cat or dog eats the entire thing, it's not dog food, it's not cat food, so they could be unwell. But cats will only nibble the ends of the leaves off. Some say that they have the same effect as catnip. Obviously, we can't ask the cats that to double check, but on that side of things, they are very common. It's the most easiest plant for little cats to nibble on the end of the leaves, and there's no issues with that. So spider plants are really good, both for the pet friendly side, but also as a beginner plant, or for those who work away from home, or they don't want to water plants 24/7. They don't want that high cultivation needs. Spider plants, they are a plug and play plant. You can put them in various areas of the house, let the soil dry out in between waters, give them a good flush of water, and they'll just keep growing. And eventually you'll get the little baby spider plants. So I call them spiderettes. They're just stolons, so little extra stems. They produce flowers, they produce little babies. You can either leave them on the plant, so then they create like a trailing effect, a really long trailing houseplant, or you can take the babies off, put them in water, let them root for 2 weeks. It only needs 2 weeks. Put them in the soil, and then you've got another plant. So there's different ways, but really spider plants are very accessible both for beginners, but they're also, you can buy them at supermarkets, you can buy them at the local florist, and they are by far the cheapest houseplant to get, purely because of the quick growth rates that they have.
I love them. I absolutely love them. My cat's about to join in here. So if you yeah. So talking about, cats, and we said about catnip, what about growing something like catnip indoors? Because that's just a herb.
Yeah, you can do. Some garden centres, some florists do actually sell them. They are dirt cheap because they're very quick at growing. They're probably actually cheaper than spider plants are. They're not long-lasting plants sometimes, so you do have to buy another one eventually after about a year. But yeah, as they are a herb for little furry friends. You can put them on a windowsill. They do like moist soil because, generally speaking, they're grown in a pot from seeds. So of course, the younger the plant, they're a little bit more susceptible to dehydration. The older the plant, you can forget to water them because they can deal with it a bit better. Because they're little seedlings in pots, you definitely just need to make sure that you keep the soil moist. Garden centres do sell them, and they are very cheap because they are seedlings, so they can turn over the plants much quicker than a palm, for example. Indoor palms are quite expensive sometimes because it takes so long to grow.
Yes, yes, yes. I had a beautiful palm actually. And then, we moved here and it's just with the light, it's always a bit of a battle, isn't it? If you want to have lots of greenery in your flat, I feel I'm a bit handicapped in that in that
Yeah.
capacity with the light. So I mean, what tips? I do have a big plant in my bedroom now. It's very dark green. So, tips, Joe, for people like me that are compromised by a lack of light
Yeah.
due to having a garden and having to be on the ground floor in London.
To be fair, the best thing to do is, if you don't have windowsills, or the windows are small, you can't obviously put all the plants in the windowsill. You won't be able to see out yourself.
Well, no, this is the thing, and yeah, go on.
Uh,
Sorry.
that's okay. So the best thing is get grow lights. You can buy them online. They could be
Oh,
as low as, so there's LED strip lights you can get. So I've had mine since January 2021, because I remember me and Mum got it, and she had an old convertible. And we had to lift this gigantic cabinet on into her convertible car over the roof, which was retracted. And then I got the grow lights as well at the same time. So what you can do is buy LED strip lights. £15, and then buy like an old gym cabinet. You can put them, if you have two shelves above each other, you can put one on the taller shelf but underneath, so then the light travels down to the plants. And I've got quite a lot of rare orchids in my little gin cabinet, and they've all grown since then. They've been there for going to be 5 years in January, and they're actually easier to grow than the plants on the windowsill, because the windowsill has the radiators, the sunlight. So there's all these extraneous variables which can change dehydrating properties of the plant essentially. Whereas
sure. Yeah.
yeah, with the soil side. So if you have like the cabinet, for example, with the grow lights, keep the door shut, and it's such a reliable, humid, the same light levels, everything's on the same consistent level, so the plants actually grow better, and you don't need to water as often. So for you, especially with the smaller windows on the ground floor, just get some grow lights. You don't have to get purple grow lights or red grow lights. They do the balances where they can benefit both the flower production and the foliage production, and it's just a warm white light. So I'm looking at my cabinet now, and it quite literally just looks like cabinet lighting, warm white, in the middle of the Kelvin scale. It's fantastic. So definitely have a look on there, and put all your plants in there if you want to buy new ones. And people wouldn't even know they grow lights. They just look like normal cabinet lights, and of course it animates the room because the cabinet's lit up, but they're actually benefiting the plants. So yeah, it's a great thing to have both the functionality plants and actually for the decor of the room.
Yeah, no, oh, gosh, that sounds really excited, actually. Very sort of vintage, I'm thinking,
Yes.
as well. But what if you've got, I've got this table, okay, that's quite near the window. I mean, I'm making my flat sound like I live, I don't know, in a dungeon. I don't, I mean, it's not that bad, but it's just the way the light goes round. You know what I mean? Because I'm east on one side and west on the other. So in the afternoon, this room benefits, certainly in the summer, it's kind of no problem. And I suppose everyone is darker in the winter. So, but there's a table that's fairly near to the window. So a plant positioned on the edge of this table would get some light, not tons, but it would have light. I just don't know what to invest in, really. There's the one that I've got in my bedroom that will probably work, to get another one of those. And I cannot remember what it's called. You're going to think I've said, but throw dog breeds at me and I'll never get them wrong. But so I think you're probably like I am with dog breeds with
Yeah.
plants, which is brilliant. I love that. Very, very dark green leaves, can grow very, very big, loves the dark. Okay. Deep green leaves, quite firm leaves, actually. Hardly have to water him. In fact, this is sort of a no-brainer plant. I think that's
Yeah.
what I think he should be called. Do you know which one he is?
It might be a philodendron potentially.
Right.
If you very large leaves, it sounds like one of those. Does it have a woody stem as well?
Yeah, fairly woody stem. The leaves aren't massive, not like the ivy plant we were talking about. Medium leaves is what I describe it as. Gosh, isn't it awful? I know absolutely nothing about plants, Joe.
No, that's okay. It could be a philodendron, there could be alocasias, it could be, there's a few different plants they could be, but it sounds like it's growing very well. How long have you had it for, would you say?
Oh, this one I've had, gosh, about 3 years probably,
Not,
I think.
yeah, so definitely it could be a philodendron then, potentially.
Right. I
Whatever
might.
you're doing a good job of it with the care side.
Well, it doesn't need any care at all, that's the thing. But funnily enough, my cat has knocked him over a couple of times. Bit
Hmm.
clumsy as our Bags, being a stray feral. He,
Oh,
yeah, it doesn't really, he's so funny. But it leads me on to obviously things in the soil. We do have to be careful in the case your cat, for example, does knock a plant off, and then you've got the soil and everything on the floor, albeit temporarily, dogs sniffing around it quite quickly. With houseplants, could that be a problem? With organophosphates, for example, fertilizers and
yeah.
yes.
It's unlikely. So because of peat being banned now, most soils for houseplants is just basically something called coconut coir. Generally speaking, that's okay for pets. They're very unlikely to eat it because there's no nutritional value, there's no taste to it at all. If you use fertilizers like the chemical based fertilizers, some people call them blue fertilizers as well, those, if you've over fertilized the soil, then that could be opposed to a risk if the pet eats it. You can use organic fertilizers as well, and there's a new type of fertilizer which is just being developed. It isn't available now as well. You can buy it if you wanted to. It's called bioracial fertilizers. Long story short, chemical-based fertilizers only fertilize the plant. So you pour it into the soil, the plant gets all the nutrients, perfect. The soil health, which is very important. You think in the garden there's worms, there's invertebrates, there's bacteria, nematodes. That blue fertilizer, the chemical fertilizer, doesn't do anything for the plant. Organic feed do the opposite, so they really benefit the soil. The soil then needs to work through the fertilizer, which then eventually the plant can take up. It's almost like it's translating the fertilizer into something the plant can read. Essentially, it takes a couple months for the fertilizer, the organic feed, to work. Bioracial fertilizers, which they're not toxic at all. It's basically just bacterias for the plant and the soil that helps the plant and the soil immediately at the same time. But there's no, they're pet friendly. Obviously, you don't want to let the dog drink it, but that side of it is completely fine. So yeah, if you're someone who, the cat or the dog, the pet owners, knock the plants over sometimes, then have a go at just using more on the organic side or the bioracial fertilizers, just for the peace of mind.
Yeah, well, very good advice, actually. No, my vet, actually, in Shropshire, she runs an organic farm. Can you believe it? And
Wow.
as well, yeah. It's extraordinary to go up there, actually. It is, all creatures great and small, literally. And this,
Oh,
yeah. And so I know Barbara was always saying to me, Anna, it's all about the soil, the soil. It's all about the soil.
yeah.
So it's interesting to mention that bit, I would say, as well. But, with your own dogs and cats, I mean, what plants do you add into the mix, to keep them bright and perky and stop the winter blues?
Yeah, so of course, luckily where I'm at the minute, it's where I'm living. So I've just bought a house, I'll be moving. But the house I've got at the minute, the light levels are quite good. So, and also, it sounds really strange when I say this. I don't have curtains in the house. So when it gets light outside, the house gets light. Coupling that with plants is actually very much more on the natural side. I also don't recommend people not having curtains if they want curtains, but for me, I prefer having the natural light to wake up to, and you see the plants as well straight away. Benefits the plants because they get the most amount of hours of natural light instead of the curtains being drawn, so it's very dark until 8 o'clock or whatnot. But that side of things, I love the natural light, especially in winter. To couple the plants with, just look at the location. So if you've got any, for me, a dark location is anything more than 2 meters away from the window, and in that case, like the devil's ivy you've recommended, plants like that. Another good plant for low light is a plant called the mistletoe cactus, pet friendly as well, so they're
Oh,
not toxic. And these plants, as you can imagine, they sound like a cactus. They are a cactus, but they're a tropical cactus. So you wouldn't technically think it's a cactus because it doesn't have the upright columnar shaped stems with the spines. They're just trailing plants. They look a little bit like mistletoe, thinner leaves, and they're really good for low light areas. They're always green. They're not variegated, so you just have to find the ripsalis or the mistletoe cactus, the proper name. The different types of thicker leaves, thinner leaves, but those are really good for low light areas. And then something closer to the window, you can have variegated plants. So you can get like devil's ivy, you can get marble queen, which is a much brighter variety of the plant that you've got. You can get crotons as well, different plants that are quite good for the contrast of colours, really brightening up in interior spaces. And if you work from home as well, that massively benefit the work production. If you have houseplants around you, at least 3 or 4 within about 3 or 4 meters, that's what I always say, and you really do benefit. And essentially it almost becomes your work friend if you've had it for many years and they flower infrequently as well. It's quite a nice little highlight to have nearby to you.
Yes. Oh gosh, Joe, this is so interesting. Oh, that means I need another one in here, you see.
Yeah.
So I need to make a purchase. So do you think this mistletoe cactus would be a good option for me? You know, there is light coming in, but it's certainly not direct sunlight. And it'd be in a nice space on this very trendy, lovely vintage table. It would just indeed give that extra green in that corner, you know, so that it's balanced around the room.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And with the Christmas at the mistletoe cactus, you can also actually get Christmas cacti this time of year, October to January. They'll sell them, and florist garden centres, even supermarkets sell them. They're quite cheap. They live for many years. They're in the same family as the mistletoe cactus. So have a look online, try and find out where to buy mistletoe cacti, Christmas cacti. Both of them are really good in those dark areas. Just remember the phrase, drenches between droughts. They are in the cactus family, even though they're technically tropical plants from the Americas. You do need to make sure the soil fully dries out and then give them a good flush of water. Another good tip for these two plants is feel the very end leaf on that vine, on that stem. If it starts to wrinkle over, soften, that's the time to water. Whilst those very ends of the leaves, not the leaves closest to the soil, but the leaves right at the end, are plump, they're full of moisture, you don't need to water even if the soil is dry. So yeah, drenches between droughts are really critical for these two plants, but as long as you get that correct, they are plug and play plants. You can have them pretty much anywhere in the house, shelving units, windowsills, desktops, where you work from. It's irrespective of the light.
Oh, do you know what? This is brilliant, Joe. I'm so excited because once I'm going to be jumping on now and finding out where I can get these. I've got on a Sunday up here, we have this lovely market, and there's a lovely man who's got this huge stall, you know, actually with tons of different plants. That's where I've actually bought everything I've got actually from, apart from my spider plant, which has journeyed with me through thick and thin. Just quickly, yes, I'm going to definitely get one of these cacti. That is it. So thank you, because this is the best advice ever, you know, for someone like me, which is for a lot of people who have pets, actually, you know, certainly in London, because, you know, you like to have your garden, and that means you have to be on the ground floor, which means that, you know, you're not going to get as much light as if you were higher up.
Yeah, exactly. And the power of plants is pretty incredible when you think of it. I mean, I've always had plants since I was 13, so I've kind of not really known not having plants in the room. But it's when you read studies and things like the 49% of people immediately have better well-being and mental health. Having just a few plants in the house is quite powerful. And, you know, for me, I sometimes forget how powerful the plants are for our own well-being side of things. But it all boils right back down to the innate desire to be around the colour green because of how calming it is. It's like painting your dining room a red colour, for example, that incites food, hunger, things like that. Whereas the plant side of it, green, that symbolises a lot of calmness. And so it's really clever, the power of colour, the power of plants, and, you know, the well-being, the mental side, and even the work production side.
Yes, yes, I love all of this. Of course, yeah, I absolutely love it. No, Joe, look, you know, thank you for this. Will you be going out later today? It's bright here at the moment with your dogs. Please just give us a quick sum up of your dogs, what type of dogs they are, how old are they, and what are all their names?
So the first one's called Wigwigs, which is a very unusual name for a dog.
I love it.
So two of our dogs are rescue. One is from Romania. It looks like a bear hound. We don't know what it actually is. If anyone remembers, it's It's Pippin from, I think it's like an old CBBC/CBBS TV show for kids. I think it's called Come Fly with Me, or Go Outside with Me. That's their little dog called Pippin, the lady's dog Pippin. It looks quite similar to their dog, just a little bit bigger. We've got a black and white Shih Tzu. We've got a Bichon Frise called Sparky. We've got a poodle called Boodle. It sounds like a Dr. Seuss rhyme, but yeah, Boodle is the poodle. Is that all of them? Have I missed a dog out? No, and the Shih Tzu is called Benji. So they're the 5 dogs that we have. I used to have a tortoiseshell cat as well called Chili, but she passed away a few years ago. But when I move house, I'm going to buy myself another little tortoise-shelled cat, because I just love the colours. They look like little monkeys from a distance. It's quite cute.
Oh no, I love them. The torties, they're lovely. I'm not sure, because a bit like with plants, or we're talking the color green. With cats, the black and white cats, they're said to have the most kind of easygoing, happy-go-lucky temperaments. Baggy, yeah. So by the colors of cats, there's these, a bit like, we think that redheads are fiery, and obviously the black cats at the moment are kind of very talked about as being,
Yes.
The myth and legend of witchcraft and the devil and everything, So Baggy, actually, who was a stray that landed on my doorstep, long story, he does look like a witch's cat. I mean, he personifies that cat, and I absolutely love that. I absolutely love it, because I believe that's all a complete load of rubbish, and black cats are not unlucky. I believe they're actually lucky. But and the torties, they've got their own, and I don't know what it is, and white cats similarly. So the colours of cats kind of are supposed to represent, their personality traits, basically. Isn't that interesting?
It is. It really is interesting. So now I need to buy myself a pussycat again now. So I feel quite lonely without one.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, plants are companions, like you say, because you nurture them, and they give you a sense of purpose, because you don't have to, even I water them, and trim the flaky ones off, and all the rest of it to keep them nice. I've got my garden outside, which is a huge amount of work, just like pets. A garden and houseplants, they are a commitment, aren't they? And that's good for you to have commitments and responsibility in your life.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you very much for having me on today.
No, thank you, Joe. No, I've learned a lot. And yes, all the links will be in the show notes. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for having me on.
That's our show, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go on, rate and review the show wherever you tune into your podcasts. Thanks again, of course, to Joe Bagley, and all the links are in the show notes. And if you'd like to investigate Antinol, check out their website, and for 10% off, just use my discount code AnnaWebb at checkout. And if you haven't already, go on, subscribe. That way you'll never miss another show. Bye for now.